Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Journey to Virtuous. I am super excited today to have with me owner, CEO, Grand Poobah of Will to Win, but more importantly to me, my older brother, Richard Williams. Big brother Richard Williams, welcome to Journey to Virtuous.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad
I have
to
to
be
tell
here.
you, you are my first male guest, but it's very significant to me to begin with you. This journey that God has had me on for the last 30 years was inspired by you. You started Will to Win in 1992 when I was still doing Build a Better Boyfriend Club. So I was still trying to make a husband great and not willing to work on myself. But I watched you in entrepreneurship. I watched you do some things that people didn't believe my mother's children could do. And when it was time for me to do this work on my own, I remembered that you struck out with a family as a young man with the courage to start on a journey of entrepreneurship. So thank you for being a role model in a space that you didn't even know you were. So
I'm honored. I did not know.
okay. Well, it probably would have made it a little bit of pressure on you if you knew I was watching that way.
Maybe, quite possibly.
Well, I'm excited to have you here because Will to Win is more than just fitness. And so I want you to share with me and with the audience, one, where did the name of the business come from?
Well, the name Will to Win came from a lifetime of hardship. I knew early on that life was not easy and it was not going to get any easier. But there was this inherent sense in me that just didn't allow me to quit at anything that I did. Everything I competed in, I wanted to win.
Mm-hmm.
I never participated in anything, and I was willing to die trying in order to get that win. And so as I grew up, from 11, 12, on into my 20s, into my 30s, my 40s, my 50s, I still have that same mind state. The will to win is always what motivates me and always what drives me.
Okay. And at what point in your personal journey, professional journey, did you decide you wanted to step into Will to Win as your purpose and serve other people with that same mentality?
That was a transition that took place over maybe a 5-year period. I worked in the California State Prison from 1990 until 2000. I started working in that prison at 22 years old. So I essentially grew up in the prison. The first years of my manhood were spent inside the prison, except I was on the green team.
Right.
Now, being on the green team, you still experience everything you experience on the blue team. I got to go home. But I was always working out and training. I was a competitive bodybuilder since 1989.
Okay.
So it started out, I just wanted to be a trainer.
Okay.
But then the life lessons I was learning while I was working in the prison and the life lessons I was learning outside the prison all shaped and molded the whole plan for Will to Win. As a trainer, I encountered a lot of young men who needed guidance in areas more than fitness. In prison, even though I was a young man, I was still influential to a lot of those guys turning over a new leaf and changing, because a lot of guys that were in the prison, I was on the streets with. I went to high school with them, and they saw me as a light. So there was always this, okay, I got to do better. I got to be better because people are looking at me. People are depending on me. And then it got to a point where the mission became more than training. Because the longer you train people, the higher level you train people, you understand it is more than just a physical endeavor. In order to be great, you got to have your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit. You have to be fully invested in greatness.
Okay.
And so when I'm delivering this message to these young people, I'm changing myself.
Okay. Now, you accomplished quite a few titles over your journey in the fitness and the bodybuilding that gained you some prestige, that gained you some influence and visibility. Tell us what some of those were, because those are significant.
Well, in 1996, that was the most pivotal title. I won the Mr. America in 1996, and that essentially launched my personal training business to, hey, do you want to work with me? To now I don't have to ask anybody, do they want to work with me? They coming to me.
Okay.
And so That allowed me to exit from the prison system. It came to the point where I was training more clients and making more money training clients than I was working in the prison. So eventually my time came to say farewell to the prison and just get out there and trust and believe in myself.
Okay.
And everybody thought I was crazy.
Of course. Well, you talked to me in a particular season about the impact of working in the prison and being able to go home when some of your peers from school weren't. Tell me about that journey where you felt the pull.
Well, it was painful because one thing you learn from working in the system, that the change that's supposed to occur within does not
Okay.
and cannot. I quickly learned that the system is mightier than the individual. And I didn't want to be a part of the problem. What I saw, astronomical black and brown people getting locked up, and essentially these young men becoming disposable. Guys that I grew up with, right? Even though they were behind the bars and I wasn't, you still develop a relationship, a rapport with these guys. And you start to understand that they have families, they have wives, they have kids, but the system has essentially made them disposable. So there came a time for me when I couldn't be a part of the problem, because I did then and I still do believe now that the prison system is a part of the problem.
Okay.
It is a part of nobody's solution.
Okay.
It is a major part of the problem. And I couldn't be a party to it anymore.
Okay.
So I walked in 2000. I submitted the way it went down, closed escrow on my house.
That's right. First things first.
Yes. 2 days after I closed escrow, I wrote my letter of resignation.
Okay.
And I was out.
Okay. And you struck out to do
I
Will
struck
to Win
out
full time.
That's it. It was just will to win, personal training, and I didn't have much of a plan outside of that. And my whole family thought I was crazy. It's like, man, you leaving the prison system, you're gonna be a lieutenant, you're gonna be making $100,000 a year before. And see, I was already making that as a personal trainer, but I was smart enough. Game is to be sold, not to be told. I'm not telling these people what I'm doing.
Right.
They just noticed old Will wasn't signed up on nobody's overtime list.
Right.
But I was making money already. And then I just transformed the personal training business into opening a gym opportunity as well. And it's just been growing ever since.
Snowball from there. What are some of the things you've experienced with working with some of the men? Because I know you work with all ages, younger than you, older than you. But what are some of the recurring themes that you're seeing in our men? Because I think that's important for our viewers to understand that it's not just women that are on this journey to walk in purpose. Our men, which I believe are the heads of our families, which really does mold what the family can look like and what our future looks like, but they don't have the support they need. And I witnessed that with my brothers, with you, but I also saw you overcome that and begin to serve in a way that I hadn't seen other men serve. So what are some of the recurring things that you saw men troubled by or plagued with?
Well, first and foremost, a lack of father figures that were walking a righteous path. Second was a stick-to-itiveness that's just needs to be instilled in these young men. Most of the time is by a father.
Okay.
And not to be third on the list, but another big one is our young men rely heavily on violence as an expression of emotion.
Okay.
And so whether you're hurt, whether you're angry, whether we're sad, whether we're depressed, it's always manifests itself in violence. And so I was a victim of that as well. Growing up, I get mad, I get hurt. It was easy to be violent. That was the acceptable way to express my emotion within my community. But in having sons at an early age and being around a whole bunch of other young men at an early age, I knew that wasn't the path, so I flipped it.
Okay. You hinted at it, but talk a little bit about how your relationship with our parents, what role did that play in molding you toward your purpose and actually ultimately walking in it?
My relationship with both my parents was tragic. As you know,
Yes.
It was extremely dysfunctional. on both sides of the ball, mother and father both. And without going to extreme detail, it was a situation where if anybody were aware of it today, their kids would be removed from that
Absolutely.
situation. And so being in that environment is either you adapt that way of thinking or you take a 180-degree direction the other way. And so what I use my parents' examples of, I whatever they did, I do the exact opposite.
Okay.
I do the
Okay.
exact opposite. My mother was violent; she was hurting. My father, he was violent; he was hurting. And so, even though I learned these things early, I knew it wasn't the way. I was fortunate enough to be able to function in different worlds and see, hey, the things that serve you to get out of your house or to serve you to survive in your neighborhood doesn't necessarily put you in a position to thrive in the real world.
Okay.
And so it's important that you differentiate between the two.
Okay. A maybe a little bit more difficult question. What was the forgiveness journey like for the parents? Because I know I'm recognizing as I walk out this journey to virtues for me that I have some unhealed places about my childhood. I'm in my 50s, but recognizing that there are some things that I just tucked away to survive or to cope. And now, as this ministry grows in me and I have to share more, I'm recognizing some unhealed spaces, and I have to intentionally say, you know what, I'm going to forgive for that and release myself. Not necessarily our parents, because of course, mom is gone, dad is here, caregiving for him, but caregiving for a parent who wasn't really there to caregive for me as a child was a challenge. So, what has that forgiveness journey been like for you?
Well, for me, it's been rough.
Okay.
It's only within the past 5, 6 years that I can actually say I've forgiven my mother
Okay.
for everything.
Okay.
I'm still not there with my father,
Okay.
but I am there with my mother. And for me, it took a maturing as a man, a maturing as a father, and just to be a father and fully involved with the way my kids were raised and brought up. I can see a lot of things now with my seasoned eyes that I couldn't see at the ages of 13, 14, 12, 11. When you're hungry and you're 14 and you don't give a damn what your mother's going through.
Right. Right.
But when you reflect back on that, I reflect back on that at 45 and I got mouths to feed and I hear my kids are hungry, but they don't understand. Daddy didn't work 16 hours a day for the past 10 days. Daddy's tired too. I understand that now.
Okay.
I wasn't able to see. I knew our mother was mentally ill, but to know what mental illness is and to know
Right.
what mental illness
To live it.
is two different things.
Right.
I knew my mother was mentally ill, but having gone through that my own self and having the medication journey and the hospitalization and all that stuff, it really does disable you. And so for me, to your point, what allowed me to forgive my mother was to actually identify why I was angry with her.
Okay.
Because our parents spank us. We never get angry at our parents spanking us. It never lasts longer than the spanking sting.
Right.
Right? It's just part of it. So it was never that. It took me to get 40, damn near 50 years old before I was mad at my mother because I couldn't save her.
Okay.
Because at a young age, you see, our mother would be hurting. And I could help everybody around. I could help my brothers. I could help my sisters. I could help those fools in the street that needed stuff. But there was nothing I could do to ease my mother's position. And I took it personal.
Okay. That is profound because so many of our, especially men, my experience, especially with my brothers, you all want to rescue. And I'm sure that is not just a Williams male phenomenon. The male as the head has a need to be able to protect. And when they can't, I think it does something to their psyche. I don't know because I'm on the outside watching, but I just see it so often that great men doing great things can't live up to their own standard because they can't fix something about somebody in the family or something that's going on with someone in the family. And that that breaking, if you will, of their spirit may cause them to never walk in their full potential because they start to think they're not good enough.
As a man, I believe wholeheartedly our job is to protect
Okay.
our families in to the death, right? Once you become of age, then it becomes your mother. Even though she's your mother, it's still your job to
Okay.
protect your mother because now you're the man of the house. In terms of relationships, yes, my job is to protect my wife.
Okay.
My job is to protect my daughters, protect my sons, protect my brothers and my sisters.
Okay.
That is my role as a man.
Okay.
When someone doesn't allow me to function in that role, it is unsettling for me, especially when I know, and I think many men can identify with, I operate from a position of sincerity.
Okay.
I'm the type that always tell my brothers and sisters, my mother, my father, what's best for them, even if it's detrimental to me.
Okay.
So if I want to sacrifice my life for you, why aren't you listening to me?
Okay.
And so in terms of like my mother, I knew she was smoking and knew she was drinking. I knew everything that she was doing. And I'm telling you, you got to stop this mess. And, you know, she's like any other mother. She's not listening to no 12 or 13 or 14-year-old dude.
Right.
Not her son.
Right. But I watched you even in an inability to save her. You overcame that to start serving others and start sowing into them in a way that caused them to see their own potential. That's what I'm watching you do. It's not a watched in past tense. I'm watching you. You relocated from California. You came here to Arizona in some ways to rescue me and to protect me because the ministry was in a season where I needed that level of support, but to your own detriment because you had to start your business all over again, coming to another state. But I've watched you do that over and over again. So what is that thing that you say caused you or allowed you or propelled you past the circumstance of I couldn't save this one, but there's still an opportunity for me to serve over here or to support someone else?
Well, it falls right into the will to win thing, right? When you walk through life, I've been maybe 5 or 6 different men from the age of 18 until 55 where I'm at now. In every stage of man, I've evolved and I've gotten stronger and I've gotten wiser. And the analogy I like to use is fishing, right? A rookie fisherman, they put one pole in the water and they hope and pray that somebody bites, one fish bites on their pole. A seasoned fisherman puts 10 poles in the water and the ones that bites is the one he reels in. Okay. I've learned from experience that I'm not limited to helping any one person, any one segment, any one niche. Okay. Anybody that my message resonates with, I can help. Okay. So I really need to put myself in a position to be seen, to be heard. Okay. And then have the wherewithal and the will to win, to persevere and help. Because oftentimes when you're helping people, you do take on, I don't like to say you take on their problems, but you can feel their stress. Okay. You can feel their hurt. You can feel their pain. And oftentimes you get exhausted, but you have to have that will to win.
Okay. And so you said anyone that your message resonates with. What is your message? What is your purpose?
My message, my purpose is never let anybody outwork you. Mm-hmm. Never let your circumstance be bigger than the person that you are. Okay. And a lot of people would say, well, that's not fitness related. Right. Because it's not. It's a life lesson. But if you think about every single adversity that you face in life, right, you get knocked down. You can either stay down or you can get up. Mm-hmm. Every time I get knocked down, I choose to get up. Okay. And it's a simple process that I've learned over the years that I try to instill with everybody that I work with. Okay, identify the problem. That's it. We don't need to restate the problem 50 million times. We know what the problem is. Now we immediately go into solution-oriented thinking.
Okay.
right? And this is where the will to win comes in at. If you try this, it don't work, scrap it. You try this, it don't work, scrap it. If it don't, you keep trying
Okay.
until it works.
Okay.
And if it never works, then you die trying.
Trying. Wow.
And that's in every facet of life.
So keep trying. If it don't work, scrap it. But you die trying. That's a profound message. I can remember Mom waking us up in the middle of the night saying, "Who are you?" And we had to figure out it's not our name she was looking for. She was looking for us to say, "I'm a survivor." And that was for me for many, many years the message and the way to cope. But I reached a point where I no longer wanted to survive. It was time to thrive in life. It was time to actually live and not just survive in my circumstance. And I've watched you do that. Talk to me about how you use your fitness to convey that message, because you lived it. I was able to put words to it. You know, many years later, I think I was mid-30s before I said, I'm tired of surviving. I want to thrive. But again, it was your choice to do things differently. That was the roadmap for me to follow. Yes, I'm going to work a job. Yes, I'm going to take care of my family. But I got my side hustle. And when my side hustle became more lucrative than my job, it was time to take the leap. And so I did that and relocated. But what is that? What is that? I'm not sure what word I want to use. How does that message translate for you into the fitness? How do you use fitness as a tool?
Well, fitness is nothing more than the vehicle for me to enter into a young man or a young woman's mind.
Okay.
Right now, once we on the fitness topic, we can talk about anything under the sun. We can talk about God, spirituality. We can talk about child rearing. We can talk about being a good mother. We can talk about being a good father. But fitness is a vehicle that allows me in.
Okay.
That's my area of expertise. That's the one that people say, oh, hey, we need to listen to that guy.
Uh-huh.
But once I got them hooked, I can tell them anything.
Okay.
And there's a certain level of trust that comes. They trust you with your health. They trust you with some other things. The way the coaching business, personal training business goes, if I work with an elite level athlete or just a lifestyler, 3 or 4 days out the week, right? That's about 6 to 8 hours that I have that person's undivided attention. Now I could keep the topic solely on fitness, or I could use this as an opportunity to help them become a better person. And every person I help become a better person, it helps me too. Okay. It reaffirms every life lesson that I've ever learned. So I'm not that guy who's at 55 and said, I got it all figured out, I don't need no help. But I draw so much joy out of helping people. Okay. And the money just came as a byproduct of doing what I do. Okay. So I could mindlessly work a 16 to 18 hour day, kills my wife. She hates it. But I think nothing of it. I'm a full service trainer / coach, so I get phone calls and text messages 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Drive my wife crazy. But it doesn't bother me. It's one of those things you can say, well, every influential person who's ever changed the world or left an impact on the world, what break did they get?
As you talk about this, I think about Scripture saying, or Christ telling the disciples that he was going to make them fishers of men. And you using fitness as your fishing pole. Because as you talked about 1 pole versus 10 poles in the water, I see this as your fishing pole. And I see the diversity of the clients that you serve. To your point, the elite athlete or just that everyday mom that we're trying to get rid of this pudge. Tell me, where are you serving your clients? How are you connecting with the people that you're supporting?
Well, primarily I connect with people online
Okay.
at Team Will to Win on Instagram and Facebook, but a lot of in-person stuff at the gym in Phoenix, Arizona. But prior to here, I was in San Diego, California for 30 years at the same gym, the same location. I have a network of people globally because San Diego was a hub for a lot of military. So initially, I got a lot of military guys, a lot of young military guys. And as they leave San Diego and they go around the world,
Right.
my network expanded. So I've always been a type of trainer slash coach who connects with the people that they work with. So nobody who works for me is ever just a number or ever just a dollar sign. I get to know them. I get to know their wife, their girlfriends, their kids. I find out what makes them tick. In order to get somebody from level A to level B, or to get somebody to go from a college level to professional level, or from an amateur to professional level, there's an elevation of the mind that must occur. And the
Okay.
only way that I can help them elevate their mind is if I know where their current mind state is. And that requires me asking a lot of questions. What makes you tick, young man? What makes you tick, young woman? What's your why?
Okay.
Why are you here? What's the thing about you that's uncompromising? What are the things that you can let go? What are the things you refuse to let go? And the more you get to know about them, it becomes easier to find out what motivates them to go from good to great.
Do you ever think of the work of Will to Win as ministry?
It's very much a ministry.
Okay.
It's some ministers put the church thing out in front. Mine is fitness.
Okay.
If you think about the gym and church, right? They're the same.
Okay.
There is no niche market for a church.
Right.
All walks of life go to church.
Right.
There is no niche market in fitness. You go in any gym in the city, you're gonna find the most diverse group of people you're ever gonna find.
Okay.
But in both places, people are searching for something. They go to those places for a very specific purpose.
Okay. So I want you to share with the audience, if you would, one great lesson that you've learned in these many years, because it's almost 40 years now. Just thinking about how old you are versus when the business started. I don't want to age you, but it really has been that long. If you think about your early teens and leaving right after high school to, do your stint in the military and then on to corrections and such, what is one of the most valuable lessons that you could share with men in particular? Because I feel like our men are hurting, and I feel like our women as a whole, we haven't been taught generationally how to nurture appropriately the development of a man. One of the things that drives me crazy is kind of off topic. Father's Day, when we're telling mothers Happy Father's Day, a mother cannot be a father. We cannot give our sons what a man can give them, what their father can give them. And so we do our sons, in my opinion, a disservice when we lead them to believe that they're not essential to the life of their children because their father is being perceived as not essential to their own. And so from that perspective, because I've watched you raise sons and you've raised my son and other people's sons, what kind of advice would you give to the man? And then the next piece, I want to ask you, what kind of advice would you give to a woman?
Wow, that's a loaded question. But
Yes, it is.
my calling is to help men. I feel
Yes.
like my calling is to help young men, because the world just kind of, excuse my French, but shits on you if you're a man, if you don't got it all figured out. They expect us to have it all figured out. My advice to every young man or every old man is to find somebody to mentor under.
Okay.
Right? A good mentor, not just the OG in the hood, not necessarily just the minister in the church, but
What makes the mentor a good mentor? What are the character traits of a good mentor?
well, somebody who's living a righteous life of high moral turpitude, and they're willing to pour into you.
Okay.
And there are a lot of us that are out there like that. But what I found over the years that a mature man, an older man, we've learned not to fight the youth. Right? The youth, the young man has a stubbornness that's unsurpassed. So we're open, but we're just not forceful with it.
Okay.
But any young man who comes to me and asks me a question, I'll sit down, man, I got some time for you.
Okay.
So it just really, for me, I started to ask questions. It started in working in the prison because I'm 22 years old. I'm new working there. I'm corrections officers in there that's been there 30 years. It's lifers on the yard who've been there for 30 years too, right? So I'm talking to the lifers. They tell me, young man, this ain't the way. So even though he's in a bad position, he still possesses wisdom that I could use in order to not be where he's at.
Right.
Same thing with the corrections officers. The corrections officers been there for 30 years. They have tons of wisdom. I started asking questions. When I was in the Air Force, I'm 20 years old. I'm asking questions to the guys that have been in the Air Force for 20, 30 years. I'm asking questions. Not one time in all the years I've asked an older man a question did they say, I ain't got nothing for you, young man.
Okay.
Not one time.
Okay.
And so just to rehash, find a mentor. Every young man out there, find a mentor. Find somebody who's in the position that you want to be in and start asking them questions. How'd you get there? What did you do to get there? What do I need to do to be in a position like you? And really listen to them. And they will give you the blueprint for success. I guarantee it.
And the harder question, what advice or what wisdom can you share for the woman who wants to be more supportive of the man in her life?
Be aware of your man's feelings
Okay.
and acknowledge them.
Okay.
Don't make us have to express ourselves like you guys, like you ladies.
What does that mean?
We don't express ourselves away. Okay, perfect analogy. Woman's intuition is very real, right?
Yes, it
very
is.
real.
Yes, it
So a
is.
woman knows when her man is cheating.
Yes, we do.
Why she don't know when he ain't unhappy, when he's unhappy.
Ooh. Boom. Okay.
That same intuition that tells a woman that her man is cheating is the same intuition that's going to tell my man is hurting. My man needs something. He needs a hug. He needs some uplifting. He needs some encouragement, but they're not being taught that.
Okay. We are not. Okay. Whew. Our woman's intuition has a role to play that is bigger than just finding out when he's doing wrong. It can let us know when he needs us to do a little more right in his life. And so thank you for sharing just candidly. You know, you're my big brher.
It's the same advice I would give to you.
Absolutely.
You know what?
I receive it,
You
too.
got an outstanding man. So that same thing you ain't up to no good. You know when that man's hurting.
That's true. I'm blessed to have one that's always up to some good, sometimes to his own detriment. So, but that's a blessing.
Look, we've had the same.
Yeah.
We've been brother and sister for life,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So even when we were younger, and I try to point out to you, this food ain't no good for you.
Right.
I'm still the same brother.
That's true.
I just got a bigger vocabulary, a little bit more tact.
A little bit.
A little bit more tact.
Okay. This has been a pleasure for me. I hope that I'll have you back very soon. I want to invite the audience. Will to Win is located now in Phoenix, thanks to my brother relocating, but it is a phenomenal experience just to be part of the Will to Win team. He trains online, as he said. He also trains in person. We have a fitness room here at Zion Institute, so we invite you to learn more about Team Will to Win. Tell us again where we can find information and how we could plug into your business.
On Instagram, it's at Team Will to Win. On Facebook, it's Team Will to Win. I also have my Facebook, Richard Williams. My website is soon to come.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball on that.
That's all right. Yeah. We'll have you back once the website is up. You'll have some pictures of me. I'll be about 10 pounds lighter. I am doing my fitness regimen now that my shoulder's back intact enough. But I want to thank you for spending time and sharing your heart with me and with the audience for A Journey to Virtuous. Thank
Anytime.
you. Stay tuned for more. We are so excited about this journey that I am on and the ability for me to share everyone else's journey, because it's not just me. All of us have something to offer. All of us have been called to do something great. And I hope that you'll stay tuned with us and learn more, that you're not alone on your journey to virtuous. Thank you. Thank you for joining me on my podcast, A Journey to Virtuous. Please like and subscribe. If you'd like to know more about the work that I'm doing, please visit me on social media at thezioninstitute.org or Whisper Consulting, or also Shawn Pearson Journey Coach. You can also find me on one of my websites, thezioninstitute.org, TheZioninstitute.org. INSTITUTE.org, or whisperconsulting.com. That's WISPHER consulting.com. Thank you for your support.